Hey friends, welcome back to the movie story. Tonight's film is about mystery, terror, and a small town haunted by a dark secret. When 17 students vanish in the middle of the night, their teacher becomes the town's prime suspect. But the truth is far more horrifying. Strange rituals, a cursed family, and a sinister red-haired woman pull everyone into a nightmare where not even the living are safe. Spoilers ahead. Let's dive in. The story begins. 2 years prior in the town of Maybrook, a teacher named Justine arrived at her classroom to find it deserted, with the exception of one student, Alex Lilly. At 2:17 a.m. the previous night, Justine's 17 other students had simultaneously walked out of their homes, running into the night with their arms outstretched. The events triggered multiple security systems, providing ample video evidence of their departure, but showing no indication of an abductor. The police questioned Alex and Justine repeatedly, but neither could offer any information. For the next month, the school remained closed for the investigation. Extensive searches of the area yielded no results. When the school was set to reopen, Principal Marcus held a town meeting. The majority of the attendees held Justine responsible for the children's vanishing, accusing her of having done something to make them leave. Justine's attempts to express her affection for the students were met with insults. When Marcus tried to defend her, the parents labeled him an accomplice. A detective was needed to escort Justine from the building to protect her from the crowd's anger. Afterward, Justine visited a store to purchase liquor, a habit she had developed since the incident. She received a call from a blocked number with a threatening voice, which she promptly ended. Upon leaving the store, a drug addict named James approached her for money, but she walked past him. Later that evening at her home, Justine heard the doorbell but was too frightened to open it. She looked through a peephole in the window but saw no one. Following a knock on the door, Justine finally went outside, only to discover the word witch spray-painted on her car. The next morning, Justine's efforts to remove the graffiti were unsuccessful, forcing her to drive the vandalized car to school. Marcus placed her on a leave of absence, suggesting she seek help for her mental state. He informed her that Alex had been transferred to a different class and was adjusting well. Justine requested to speak with him, but Marcus denied her, citing a history of her crossing professional boundaries, such as hugging a crying student and driving another home after he missed the bus. A defeated Justine returned to her car and was overcome with emotion. Later, Justine went to the police station to file a report about the vandalism and threatening calls. She had an awkward encounter with her ex-boyfriend, Paul, who was on duty. That night, the two met at a bar. Paul showed concern for Justine's predicament, but she insisted she could handle it. He also mentioned that he and his wife were separated. They ended up spending the night together at Justine's place. The next morning, as Justine drove Paul home, she expressed her frustration that the police were not putting enough effort into the case. Later that day, Justine parked near the school and waited for the children's bus. She followed Alex when he was dropped off at his home. Justine rang the doorbell and knocked, but there was no answer. The windows were all covered with newspapers. Concerned, Justine entered the backyard through the fence. A small gap in the newspapers on one window allowed her to peer inside, where she was startled by the sight of two people. She stumbled backward over some objects, but the noise drew no reaction from inside. Looking again, she saw Alex's parents sitting completely motionless on the couch. Justine called Marcus to report her findings, but he reprimanded her for stalking the boy. At the grocery store, Justine was accosted by Paul's wife, Donna, who was aware of their rendezvous. Justine tried to explain that Paul had told her he was single, but Donna called her a liar and poured a bottle of alcohol over her. A store clerk had to intervene and pull Donna away. That night, Justine dreamt she was back at school. In her classroom, all the children had their heads down on their desks. Suddenly, Alex looked up, his face painted like a clown. As he gave a sinister smile, Justine woke up. She heard a strange sound in her house but saw nothing outside. As she lay back down, she screamed at the sight of a creepy red-headed woman on her ceiling who vanished in an instant. The following day, Justine intercepted Alex on his way home from school. She asked if he was all right, and he confirmed he was before walking away. When Justine attempted to follow, Alex yelled at her and ran into his house. Justine repeatedly rang the bell and knocked, but again received no response. She spent the rest of the day in her car, watching the house, and eventually dozed off. That evening, someone emerged from the house, entered her car, and snipped off a lock of her hair. Meanwhile, Archer, whose son was among the missing, had been grappling with severe depression, obsessively re-watching security camera footage. His work performance suffered as he made simple errors. He frequently visited the police station for news, where Captain Loach would explain that there were no new developments. Archer suspected Justine's involvement, but Loach asserted there was no evidence to support this. During the school meeting, Archer was among the first parents to verbally attack Justine, and he was the one who had vandalized her car. His depression became so severe that he started sleeping in his son's room. One night, a noise startled him awake. He got out of bed and saw his own sleeping form, realizing it was a dream. He followed a sound to find the front door swinging open on its own. Rushing outside, he saw his son running away and gave chase. After pushing through some bushes, however, he found himself back at his house. As the child went inside, a massive weapon-like structure marked with the number 217 appeared over the home. Archer returned to the bedroom and wept as he found his son asleep in bed, apologizing for not being a more demonstrative father. The child's face then morphed into that of the creepy red-haired woman, and Archer woke up. In the morning, Archer spotted a tower in the woods, which sparked an idea. He took a map and drew a line from his home in the direction his son had run. He then visited the homes of other missing children to view their security footage. While the first parent refused, the next one complied. Archer noted the direction that child ran and added another line to his map, believing the intersection point held the answer. On his way to the location, Archer saw Justine at a gas station and stopped to shout at her. At that moment, Justine saw Marcus running with blood on his face, his arms extended like the children. He suddenly tackled her and began to choke her. Archer tried to pull him off but was knocked down. This gave Justine a chance to escape into the store. As Marcus pursued her, Archer kicked him, only to be tackled and choked himself. A few days earlier, Officer Paul was on patrol when he saw James acting suspiciously and followed him. He caught James attempting to break into a house and called out, causing James to flee. A chase began, first by car and then on foot. Paul tackled and handcuffed James, who claimed he was breaking into his own home after losing his keys. While searching James's pockets, Paul pricked his finger on a used needle. Enraged, he punched James. He then rushed to his car for a first aid kit, realizing his dash cam had recorded the entire event. Desperate, Paul released James, declaring them even and telling him to leave town. Later at the station, Loach assured Paul he would be fine as long as James didn't file a complaint. That night, Paul had his date with Justine. When he returned home the next morning, he found Donna had arrived early, and his awkwardness quickly revealed his infidelity. Later, Paul saw James outside the station and yelled at him. James ran, and Paul pursued him in his car after unplugging the dash cam. In another flashback, it's revealed that James is an addict who lives in a tent in the woods. To fund his habit, he robs unlocked cars in town and sells the stolen items. When Paul spotted him, James was indeed attempting a burglary. Later, James noticed the Lilly's house with its covered windows and uncollected mail, assuming it was vacant. He climbed over a wall, entered through a window into a furniture-filled room, and proceeded to the living room. There, he was startled to find Alex's parents sitting on the couch with scars on their faces. They remained motionless, even as James got close, so he continued to steal their belongings. He heard a noise from upstairs but ignored it. After gathering what he could, he heard a voice from the basement. Upon investigating, he was horrified to find all the missing children standing still. They all turned in unison, and a terrified James fled. After barricading the door with furniture, he saw Alex's parents rise and come after him, prompting him to run from the house. While selling the stolen goods, James saw a poster offering a large reward for information about the missing children. After buying more drugs, he called the police to report the kids' location. The skeptical officer asked him to come to the station. As James was about to enter, Paul saw and yelled at him, causing James to flee back to the forest. There he was shocked to see the red-headed woman waving at him and quickly hid in his tent. A shadow fell over the tent, and James lashed out with his needles, only to find it was Paul. Paul dragged him out and held him at gunpoint. James saved himself by shouting that he knew where the children were. Following James's directions, Paul went to the Lillys' house. From the car, James watched in shock as Paul rang the bell and was led inside. Hours passed. When Paul finally emerged after nightfall, he seemed to be in a hypnotic state. He growled like an animal as he dragged a screaming James from the car and into the house. Revisiting another timeline, Marcus was in the supermarket when he received Justine's call about what she saw. He promised to investigate by speaking with Alex's parents. However, the person who met with him was the red-headed woman, Alex's Aunt Gladys. She claimed Alex's parents were sick and housebound. Marcus explained the welfare complaint required him to speak with the legal guardians, so he would either have to visit the house or involve the authorities. The next day, Gladys appeared at Marcus's home. When she asked for water, she bizarrely requested it in a bowl. She inquired if Marcus had contacted the authorities, and after he confirmed he hadn't, she produced a ribbon stolen from his office. She wrapped it around a strange-looking branch, which she then smeared with her own blood. When Marcus's husband, Terry, approached with a cloth for her wound, Gladys cut a lock of his hair. Marcus reached for the phone to call the police, but Gladys rang a bell, putting him in a trance and causing him to drop the phone. As his body convulsed, Gladys wrapped the hair around the stick and snapped it. Suddenly, Marcus attacked Terry, choking him while vomiting a black substance on his face. He then repeatedly headbutted Terry, killing him. Marcus didn't stop until Gladys dropped the stick into the bowl. After washing the branch, Gladys removed Terry's hair, wrapped Justine's around it, and broke it, sending Marcus on his mission to kill her. At the gas station, the fight ensued. After incapacitating Archer, Marcus chased Justine into the store. She tried to take refuge in the employee room, but it was locked, and Marcus cornered her. Just then, Archer tackled Marcus against a refrigerator, allowing Justine to run back to her car. Marcus followed, breaking a window before she could drive away, and then chased the car on foot. Archer soon emerged and joined the pursuit in his own vehicle. He was forced to stop when he saw Marcus get hit by another car. The driver screamed at the sight of Marcus's splattered head on the road. Later at the hospital, Archer recounted everything to the police. On his way out, he found Justine, who thanked him for saving her. Archer no longer believed she was guilty. He told her Marcus had been running just like the children and showed her his map. Justine instantly identified the marked location as Alex's house. Another jump in time reveals Alex before the disappearances. He was a shy, lonely boy, often bullied for being strange. His parents were a happy, loving couple who informed him his sick Aunt Gladys would be staying with them. Gladys arrived late at night. The next morning, Alex peeked into her room and saw a red wig and a small tree with peculiar branches. In bed, Gladys stared back at him, and he quickly shut the door. After school, Alex had to walk home when no one came to pick him up. In the living room, he found his parents sitting at the table in a trance-like state. Their words were cold and robotic. A healthy-looking Gladys then welcomed him, assuring him his parents were fine. A frightened Alex recoiled from her touch and threw water on his father's face, but he barely reacted. Gladys scolded him and sent him to his room without supper. The next morning, his parents were at the table, their eyes red and unmoving. Gladys warned Alex not to mention her presence or his parents' resting to anyone. As a threat, she broke a branch over a bowl of water, compelling his parents to grab forks and repeatedly stab themselves in the face. Alex was powerless to stop them until Gladys threw the branch in the bowl. She repeated her warning, threatening worse if he disobeyed. The next day, Alex saw that Gladys had moved all her furniture into his parents' room, where she now sat on the floor performing rituals. Alex was forced to heat soup and feed his parents. This routine continued for days: school, groceries, feeding his family. One night, Gladys called him to her room. He found her looking very ill, vomiting into a pot. She explained that his parents had been making her better, but it was no longer working. She needed Alex to bring her an item from each of his classmates. The next day, while the other kids were in gym, Alex snuck into the classroom to take the name tags from their personal bins. Justine found him, and he pretended he had forgotten something. She expressed concern over his recent quietness and offered to listen, but Alex insisted he was fine. Later, he left the name tags at Gladys's door. In the middle of the night, a noise woke him. He went downstairs to find Gladys breaking the tags into a bowl. She spat into it, threw in a match, and rang a bell. At that moment, all of Alex's classmates ran from their homes and into his house. When the investigation started, Gladys applied makeup to Alex's father's face. She told the police he had suffered a stroke and was nonverbal, and that she was caring for the family. Knowing the house would be searched, Gladys had Alex clean it and take the newspapers off the windows. She then cut the children's hair for a spell that made them hide in the forest. Afterward, Alex had to feed the children as well as his parents. One day after school, he saw a police car outside. Inside, he found Paul and James in the middle of the room. He ran upstairs to hide but was blocked by Gladys, who announced they would be leaving town the next day. She warned him not to cross a line of salt by her door, which his parents were guarding. Minutes later, Justine and Archer arrived outside. They saw the door open and Paul emerge. He waved at them before going back in. The pair decided to follow him, an act Alex witnessed from a window. In the living room, Paul gestured, and as Justine approached, she inadvertently stepped over a salt line. Suddenly, James tackled Archer, who began beating him without causing any apparent pain. Paul pursued Justine into the kitchen, where she hit him with a pan. Unfazed, he leaped over the table and grabbed her. She used a peeler to slice his face, but he felt no pain and continued to choke her. Upstairs, ignoring the screams, Alex crossed the salt line. His parents were released from their stasis and ran after him. Alex locked himself in his room, but they began punching through the door. When they broke in, he escaped to the bathroom through a connecting door, then exited back into the hall and hid in Gladys's bedroom. He heard his parents breaking down that door as well. He quickly grabbed a branch from the tree and hid in the private bathroom, smearing the branch with his own blood. Meanwhile, Archer continued to punch and kick James, who kept recovering and attacking. James eventually tackled Archer through the basement door, revealing all the children. Justine managed to get Paul's gun and shot him in the neck. He remained standing as a black liquid oozed from the wound. She then shot him in the head. She rushed to the basement and shot James as well. A desperate Archer began searching for his son among the children. He was suddenly startled by Gladys, who ripped his necklace from him. Seconds later, Archer ambushed Justine from behind and began to choke her as Gladys watched. At the same time, Alex took a hair from Justine's wig, wrapped it around the branch, and broke it. Suddenly, the children rushed out of the basement and charged at Gladys, who fled the house. As the children smashed through windows to follow, Gladys ran through a neighbor's yard. The children broke their windows and doors too. Neighbors watched in horror as Gladys was pursued by the swarm of children who climbed fences and shattered any glass in their path. A girl finally tackled Gladys to the ground, and the other children piled on, killing her by tearing her to pieces. Gladys's death caused Archer and Alex's parents to be freed from the enchantment. Justine went upstairs and found Alex embracing his parents. Archer followed the path of destruction and was reunited with his son. In the aftermath, Alex's parents were institutionalized, and he went to live with a kinder aunt. The other children were returned to their families, though it was some time before they spoke again. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.